this. Those who are on Medicare, you will end, because they'll bankrupt it before it's time, because they're going to put everybody into it. It'll bankrupt Medicare. It costs $32 trillion.
That you're making, that 60% of people have health care through their company, and that will end.
That will end. But it's not. More than 100 Democrats currently in Congress have co-sponsored it. Now let's look at who their candidates are. They got Gil Cisneros running in Royce's district. He's being accused of sexual harassment by a Democrat legislator. I mean, they've got problems with these candidates that they have before us, time and time again. Look at the individual that wants to run in Paul Ryan's seat. Numerous times he's been arrested in the process. I don't think they've vetted the people they've gone through. So this election is going to be much different. It's kind of like the weather. It changes kind of week by week. 2 weeks ago, the generic ballot was at the exact same place it was the day before the election in 2016.
Wow, so it's changing that quickly.
Yeah, remember what happened in 2016? We kept the majority, and President Trump won. So the battle is going to go forward, but the intensity level's on our side. If Republicans get out and vote, we will keep the majority.
Yeah, but I mean, you would think with all of this good news, from the economy to foreign policy and beyond, that you would have more unity within your party. You're running for Speaker. You've got others within the Republicans running for Speaker. How are you going to get together, show a unified front, so that people understand that you are all together and behind this president?
Well, the most important thing you got to do is make sure there's 218 Republicans, so there could be a Republican Speaker. I think what this president has shown, the results that he has gone, the safety that he has created, the world is a safer place. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon today. North Korea is sitting down. And when they didn't follow through, you know what the president did? Just like when he stopped the first meeting, bringing them back to the table to do what's right.
Yeah.
And then he's standing up to open up more markets for us. I think that's very important economically where we are. If you look back in history, a party that has these much results, with an opposition of just resistance, with an idea that they're going to abolish ICE, impeach the president,
right.
Who wants that much chaos going into the future? Nothing will get done. And they just want to reverse. Nancy Pelosi says she wants to reverse the tax cuts, so you will pay more in the future.
She did say that. I was shocked that she would actually admit that. Look, I think the markets are giving this president and the Congress some the benefit of the doubt
every day.
The benefit of the doubt in terms of the trade issues and the tariffs issues, but no doubt that that is an uncertainty out there. Do you expect we will see a deal with Mexico over the near term?
I do, and I think it'll be very soon. We'd vote on it on the next Congress, but that NAFTA needed a modernization. We needed to open the market up. Remember when this was written in the 90s, and think of what the financial markets have done. Agriculturally, we have to have better markets going through, lowering the tariffs, letting America's products there. That only builds to the future. Remember, the EU has come forward that they want to lower tariffs. South Korea, we renegotiated our trade agreement there. That all leads into where China's talking about in September, sitting down with us. I was just with Secretary Mnuchin this weekend. He's talked about the prospects of going forward. Each agreement we make only makes it stronger for the next. And there's not one place in the world will not agree with us of what China has been doing for the number of years, of stealing intellectual property, of...
Right.
Of really
forcing
gaming
that
the system.
Transfer of technology,
yes.
Right? And then enabling Chinese companies to come back and compete with American companies, and we taught them all about it.
It's been an unfair trade process for many years.
It feels like the U.S. and Canada have really gone at each other. Do you feel that you are going to see Canada follow suit? Let's say, hypothetical, you do get a deal with Mexico in the next week perhaps. Will Canada follow suit and come up with a better NAFTA?
I believe so. I believe we're very close. And also remember, we make policy in the world of politics. Remember what politics was going on. Mexico was having a presidential election. So it's very hard for them to make agreement at a time. That election is over, but the new president's not sworn in. First thing this administration did was go down there. As they get this agreement done, we know where Canada is, but what it only makes us stronger, and you're going into a new election next year in Canada, it's beneficial to them to have this all agreed upon this year.
All right.
I think that's positive, and then that only builds to our negotiations with China.
Right.
The more we lower, and remember this one thing, it's not America who are raising the prices. It's China who raises the tariffs on American products to enter the market. All we're asking for is let's have a level playing field. Mm-hmm. Let's have a fair agreement. And what will happen, we continue to build on these results, the next century will be America.
All right, we will talk about this. Let's take a short break. I want to ask you about some of your comments recently about social media and what's going on in terms of potentially censoring conservatives. We've got more with Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy on the other side of this break. Stay with us. And then we will hear from Congressman Darrell Issa on our panel. Ed Rollins, Mary Kissel, and Greg Jarrett. We continue to remember the life and legacy of John McCain. Welcome back. We are back now with Congressman Kevin McCarthy, the House Majority Leader. And Congressman, you've been tweeting and talking a lot recently about this potential bias, that this censoring of conservatives by social media. You confirmed the other day that Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, will testify in front of the Energy and Commerce Committee on September 5th.
Yes.
Tell me what you're expecting.
Well, first of all, you got to look at the problem. Social media has become the modern day town square. 67%, 2/3 of all adults get some of their news from the social media, and it only continues to climb. But look at the stories, what we've found. 2 weeks before the California Republican primary, if you Googled the California Republican Party, they said our ideology wasn't the party of Lincoln or Reagan, it was Nazism.
How does that happen? They said it was an algorithm. How does that happen?
Well, these algorithms. Then look just what's happened on Facebook and Twitter. Elizabeth Hang, who's running against Jim Costa in California, her parents escaped Cambodia. She has an amazing story to tell. They won't show the video for the same footage that would be on PBS. Or Prager University, it's a nonprofit that talks about conservative subjects. But they had Alan Dershowitz talking about Israel for 5 minutes. They had George Will talking about baseball. YouTube's rated them equal to in the same categories as pornography, so Facebook wouldn't show it.
That's incredible.
And then we found what Vice came forward with, the conservative voices were being shadow banned on Twitter.
Right.
And we looked at all the progressive Democrats, none of them. And they say it was an algorithm. Now, I want to give Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, some credit, because I've been talking to him and I requested him to come in. And we've had numerous conversations throughout this month. He's coming in. Now, we disagree philosophically. He will say he's a liberal.
Right.
I'm a conservative. But he does believe in the First Amendment. Now, the algorithm that he writes, I have real concerns about. Like the other day, just my setting has sensitive. Laura Ingraham put something out about the election in Sweden and the conservatives going to win because of immigration. That was marked as sensitive to not show to me.
Immigration is sensitive. Come on.
So that algorithm wrong. But
somebody sets up the algorithm, though.
Exactly. Who are those people? Remember what happened to President Trump's own Twitter account was taken down by a person in Europe.
You don't want to see more regulation. You just want them to clean up their act.
Transparency. Transparency, especially before the election. Well, Jack's coming in. He wants to be very open. The other social platforms should be open as well to what's going on. Because what happens here is, if there's a conservative being shut down, that voice is not being heard. And if this is where 2/3 of Americans are getting their news, it's not a fair process. And this country believes in fairness. The internet was created on fairness.
This is really important. We'll be watching that testimony. Thank you so much for coming in. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Stay with us. More on the life and legacy of... Welcome back. This morning, we are remembering the life of Arizona Senator John McCain, who lost his brave battle with brain cancer yesterday at the age of 81. Looking at the flag at the Capitol at half-staff this morning in honor of the senator, let's bring in California Congressman Darrell Issa. He's been on Capitol Hill roughly as long as Senator McCain was. And Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Well, my length of service pales in comparison to the late senator, but I did have the honor of serving with him. And everyone has a story. Half of my stories are sitting in the barber's chair with Mario as he got what little hair he had cut once a week, every week. But also being in Pakistan at the base that Gary Powers took off in that famous U-2 incident as we were looking at the Pakistan-Afghan border. And this man, 20 years my senior, looking less exhausted than I was because he was used to taking that kind of treatment that it takes to just keep going.
He was just an incredible man. He really was, and such principles. But what he did for our country in terms of serving in the military and the patriot that he always was, and his father was, and his grandfather was, really a long history of patriotism and love for our great country.
Well, you're exactly right. And you know, patriotism sometimes runs in a family and sometimes the second or third generation takes it for granted, but that certainly wasn't the case with John. And I think, when he's remembered this coming week and the week after and the months after, it's going to be as a patriot. With all his strengths and weaknesses, all his accomplishments, it was really just the fact that America came first with him at all times.
Absolutely. Congressman, let me switch gears and move forward and ask you about this ongoing saga of Bruce and Nellie Orr. And, of course, Bruce Orr was the #4 official at the Department of Justice. He will be in front of your committee in the next week, the Judiciary Committee, as he testifies. What are you looking to get from Bruce Orr this upcoming week, sir?
Well, you know what the question always is, the infamous question, what did you know and when did you know it? It's clear that we know some things. He knew that Christopher Steele had been dismissed. He knew that the information in that fake dossier shouldn't go forward. He knew that, in fact, that he had it go forward. He, of course, also knew that his wife was actively involved in it. And as an attorney, there are things you disclose or recuse yourself. He did neither. So the questions will be about the things he clearly knew and did wrong. Remember that this isn't, us saying there's a problem with Orr. He's been demoted from being the highest-ranking non-political appointee, highest-ranking non-political, if you will, there. He's been demoted twice, and he's been demoted for cause. And one of the causes is the clear distortion of the FISA warrant that led to this entire investigation that now turns out to be false in so many ways.
That's right. And, last week we had on your colleague, Congressman John Ratcliffe, who also sits